I'm a member of the Saskatchewan Spinners and Weavers Guild, and Merle Bocking, who was also a member of the Weavers Guild at the time, she was a founding member. Merle told our guild that she planned to donate her mother's samples and notes from the Searle Grain Weaving program to the Western Development Museum.
These artifacts are part of our larger collection of Searle Grain Company Weaving program artifacts that were donated to us by the daughter of a woman and another friend of hers who participated in the program in the 1940s. It's a formidable collection. This is just a part of the collection. First of all, the Searle Grain Company was a large grain handling company that had a number of elevators through to 1972 in Saskatchewan.
And Augustus Searle, who was the president, started to think about how can he help farm families be more self-sufficient, how can he improve their life. And one of his research officers met Oscar Bériau, who was at that time Minister of Agriculture in Quebec. And Mr. Bériau had started a craft program in Quebec with in teaching weaving and other crafts.
So they hired Oscar Bériau, who had in 1939 written this book, Home Weaving, and this contains all of the patterns that the women learned. In their course, they would undergo really intensive learning. It was a 6-week course for 2.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, so you can imagine for a farm woman, that's a significant investment of her time. And so she would have learned all of the terminology that's in the book and all of the techniques in the book.
It came to be what I sort of view it as creative philanthropy. It didn't have anything to do with his business of making money, but it had a lot to do with improving farm families and in a sense trying to ensure that people would stay on the farm and have a good life there. So over 800 women took the program over the several years it was alive, and it was organized at very nominal cost. The agreement was that you would use your skills and information to start a weaving circle when you finish the classes and pay it forward.
And so the weaving that these women were learning was meant to help supplement their income. It was meant to learn a trade that potentially could earn them some money. They made things like blankets, tablecloths, bedspreads, material for clothing.
Unfortunately, once the Second World War broke out, gas rationing came into effect in 1942, and that brought the program to an abrupt halt. They couldn't get off the farm to do anything but non-essential things, very essential things rather. So that program ended in the early 40s. Like I mentioned, this is a very basic weave structure, plain weave, over and under, over and under. It's really the process of weaving that has kept me involved, and I've been weaving for more than 40 years. That kind of makes me feel very old when I say that, but it has really been a sustaining activity for me in my life and been a great balance. When the idea came for something special to celebrate our 40th anniversary, it seemed like a good idea that Searle Grain program would fit. What I wanted to do is to illustrate some of the material that would have been available to the people who took the course in different patterns and materials, and as well kind of tweak it a bit to make it also a contemporary show too, that weaving in itself is a developmental process of building on pattern and texture and materials to adapt with whatever the present needs are right now. One of the first people I approached was Gwen Klypak, who pushes the the structure of plain weave into sculptural forms or three-dimensional forms. She takes what is a very simple plain weave structure and makes it into a much more elaborate piece of art. Another highlight of the show is one of the provincial group of Crake, who have a number of people who do a great job of providing that weaving circle support and motivation to each other. And they all chose a weave structure with variations to suit what they wanted to make. So they made a series of individual bags. Well, it's really a Saskatchewan story and Saskatchewan history, and we don't have enough stories to grab people's interest and make them curious about how did all this get here? We've only really been a province for just over 100 years, and you know, there's a lot of people who've worked very, very hard to make this a special, unique province.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on Max TV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sasktel.com.